The Ninja versus Ranger matchup has always had a very interesting dynamic. Against Azalea, we have to worry about cards like Red in the Ledger, but against Marlynn, what cards are we looking out for? There are a couple that really stand out in my head. King Kraken Harpoon and Red Fin Harpoon are two very potent cards that can take cards out of our hand, generate gold for them, and kind of keep their game plan flowing, especially if they're in a situation where they're activating cannon. It can be really tough for us to block all that out. Since we're Ninja, we don't block super well, and we're not able to block over 7 or 8 very efficiently. But also, the cool thing that Marlynn can do is she can block with 2 to 3 cards, and then she can play a 3 of a kind from hand or from arsenal, and that gives her the reload trigger that she's looking for. And with New Horizon, she can actually throw 2 arrows at us if one of them has go again. So even though Marlynn's blocking a lot, doesn't necessarily mean she's on the back foot. Now, if Marlynn's not blocking, we're hitting her with Mask of Momentum, we're using Flick Knives, we're trying to use Art of the Dragonscaler to be able to like get Gold-Baited Hook out of play. We have a lot of really good options as long as we're in the driver's seat, but we have to be careful because Marlynn can use her very powerful Harpoon arrows to be able to take us off tempo and put her in the driver's seat. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope you enjoy the match. All right, we're playing against Marlynn, and we are going first. They are on the cannon version of the deck. This is pretty interesting. I think our best play is going to be Brand with Cinderclaw and to pitch Art of the Dragonblood to play Art of the Dragonscaler. I know that we have the ability to go a little bit more wide here and potentially flick, but I really like the idea of just throwing our valuable 1 for 5 here. That forces them to block, because if they don't block, we will get to destroy the Gold-Baited Hook here. And so I think that forcing cards out of their hand is actually a really, really good play. We're also setting up a Go Again card in our arsenal, which is very powerful and sets us up to have success on the following turn, as long as we don't just get absolutely cheesed right here. Ooh, plus we drew a bunch of 1 for 5s, so I am immediately rewarded for making the decision we made last turn. Okay, wow, calling the big guns into 3 of a kind. So pretty solid hand here to start for our opponent. I'm assuming they kept the 3 of a kind in their hand. Probably what happened here. Okay. Uh-oh, we might be in trouble. We might be in trouble. I don't think we're going to be able to block if they activate the cannon here. I was like, I don't think we're going to be able to block this out. This is coming in for 13 right now. This is quite a bit of damage, and they are going to get a gold out of this. They're taking themselves off of an arsenal, which is pretty good, but... So let's see. I guess we're just going to sink and put the Art of the Dragonfire on the bottom. We'll just try to save a little bit of life here. And putting the Art of the Dragonfire on the bottom hopefully sets us up with a better turn. I guess they're actually going to make 2 gold. They're going to make a gold from the hook, and then they're going to make a gold from whatever they take from our hand. Probably looking at Breaking Point if I had to guess. If they don't take Breaking Point, is there a way for us to get to Breaking Point? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see. If they take Display Loyalty, we pitch Rising Resentment for a dagger. If the dagger hits, we get a resource to throw this dagger. I mean, technically we can try to go for it here. I don't think it's correct though. I mean, they don't have an arsenal, so there's not really like any big value play out of Breaking Point. I think we're just going to throw Rising Resentment and then throw Display Loyalty and then Arsenal to Breaking Point. And then we'll just try to set up with a powerful hand for next turn. Our opponent blocking very efficiently here early on. This is going to be the second turn cycle where we've not really been able to push through a lot of damage. I am going to flick this turn. I wasn't really willing to do it on the first turn cycle because I wanted to have both of my daggers. We could have drawn into a Spreading Flames. We could have drawn a Wrath of Retribution. But here, I'm pretty willing to flick my dagger. Having 1 dagger set up for next turn means that we have a starter. We also have a fealty token in play now, which is exactly where we want to be. We are going to end the turn, and we're going to arsenal our Breaking Point here. This is a pretty good hand. I'm thinking that we're going to block with the Dragon Power and the Dragonscaler Flight Path because I have the ability. Ooh, and I have Ophidia. Yo, this deck is cool. Our opponent's on some sauce. I really like that people take new heroes and find ways to make old Fableds work. I really think that's a lot of fun. But the Fealty token actually gives us a pretty powerful turn here because we can block Dragon Power, and then we can go crack Fealty for Art of the Dragon Blood, demonstrate Devotion, Breaking Point from Arsenal, and then we can snap it to throw the Breaking Point from hand. They discarded the Harpoon they created. Okay. So... Okay, Redfin Harpoon, looking pretty good. Currently coming in for 8. I don't really know what you were hoping to gain off of that gold. They have not activated the cannon, so I could just say no blocks and keep the Dragon Power. This would give me the ability. Ugh, man. Making this a little awkward. I think we're just going to take 8 here and just show them the blue. As weird as it is. They didn't activate the gold-baited hook, so I'm pretty content with just leaving it this way. They do get a gold from the big game trophy shot, but I think I'm okay with that. All right, so we're down quite a bit early on here in the turn, which, you know, is fine. Like, it's not the end of the world. We're going to start on Dagger. And then, considering how many breakpoints we have here, we actually have a pretty solid hand put together. I honestly love that my opponent is blocking right there. I think that's really good for us. We are going to go ahead and utilize the Fealty token onto the Art of the Dragon Blood, even though we have the 2 resources floating. We can utilize those resources on like another dagger here in just a second. We have some pretty good options here. So Demonstrate Devotion creates another Fealty token, which is exactly what we want. Okay, here we go. Here we go. And then it's going to be Breaking Point for 5 with a relevant on-hit effect. Now, they do have Trench to protect their arsenal, so they can just trench their arsenal away and take 5 if they want. I am willing to use Flick Knives and also give up the Flight Path here to be able to attack again. I am more than happy to make that play and to make this happen. Also, if we draw into something very powerful, we could be in a really good spot. So we're going to go ahead and flick the dagger. This is going to put them down to 27. I am not going to gain a resource here. We're not going to draw just yet. Or we're not going to activate Cindra. We're going to wait until Mask of Momentum hits before we see what we draw. This is a pretty good hand. So we are going to give this go again. I mean, they have decided to keep their hand and leave us with ours. So we're going to utilize having all of this value set up here. And then it's going to be Burning Blade Dance. Oh, no, that's wrong. Sorry, opponent. We're going to activate Cindra. I was like, this is better. We get 1 more damage out of the dagger this way. So when we throw the dagger this way, they're probably going to take the dagger. We're not going to use the vest. We don't need to. We're going to go ahead and throw the Burning Blade Dance. They've committed to not blocking this turn, so I want to push as much damage as they're possibly willing to take here. The Burning Blade Dance is a 0 for 4, which allows us to flick our dagger. It's a 0 for 3, but gets turned into a 0 for 4 because we can flick our dagger, and then we're going to throw Breaking Point at them, which is an extra 5 points. So if they're willing to go down to 12 here, considering they were above 30 this turn cycle, they've now given us a 12-point advantage going into the next turn. I know we didn't set up an arsenal, but I'm pretty content with just playing out this big hand. They get the King Shark Harpoon, which is an attack action, correct? So since we have the Fealty token, I think we're pretty safe to get Art of the Dragon Blood. We can discard the Lava Burst. They're going to activate the gold-baited hook, and then this is going to be for 9. I mean, the funny part is that we should have discarded this because we could block this out, but I think Warmongers just might be a little better here, right? So we're going to give them a gold, which is fine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play Sink Below. Ooh, the Fealty token with the Warmongers isn't really going to work out that well. I think this is fine. I know that the Art of the Dragonblood could come back to get us, but it could also be like a really good chain ender. Was a small mistake there on my part, so a little awkward. Considering they have Trench, they're pretty safe from whatever they arsenal here and playing around the Warmongers. They can still look for a 5-card hand. I'm just going to go ahead and run this out. If they have an arrow in their arsenal, they're probably pretty willing to just name War. Activating this in response is a very good play. Oh, yo, that's so good. I do not care about this card in any capacity. So we're going to choose War. And now we're going to hope that we draw a Fealty generation. We do, which is absolutely awesome. The Harpoon, and let me tell you what I do not care about. This is yellow card specifically, right? Yeah, we're going to 8. Or we're going to take 8, go to 13 here. So we're up a point, and we're in a pretty good situation here. Because we have Dagger, Demonstrate Devotion. We're probably just going to end on the Art of the Dragonblood. But we do have like some potential options here. Also, being able to utilize the Throw Dagger as just an additional card this turn is very, very powerful. Is ending on the Dragon Power better than playing the Throw Dagger? I guess it really depends on what we draw, right? You know what? Let's utilize the Dragon Power, and then we can always try to utilize this next turn if we want to. It's also very possible that the Hot on Their Heels does a pretty good job here. So let's go Hot on Their Heels. I'm sure we'll get a card here. They probably don't want to be marked. Okay, I think this is actually a massive W for us because it gives us that second fealty for the Art of the Dragonblood for next turn, which is super powerful. You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to go down this low, I'm okay with this. And then I'm going to crack a fealty token. I could go Art of the Dragonblood for 4 into this, so this doesn't force a card. Actually, it does because of the flick. Yeah, I actually think that's what we're supposed to do. We're just supposed to utilize all of this here. This is really good. They're going to block 4. They can still utilize Trench to get rid of their arsenal here. I do not need the Vest counter here. I'm now going to utilize getting back my daggers. I got them back on the wrong sides, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. They don't need to block this, but if they don't block this, Mask is still alive, which is pretty relevant. I mean, I guess it could be relevant. Yeah, they're going to trench away their arsenal. I can't really afford to break the combat chain. We're going to crack the fealty token, and then it's going to be Art of the Dragon, or I'm sorry, it's going to be Dragon Power for 5. So we were really able to swing this game around here. Oh, blocking with 2 premeditates feels awesome, and we get Mask. Oh my gosh. Whew. Brother, insane. Into the Sink Below is just absolutely crazy. We have no business drawing that well. And our opponent's going to concede because they realize that Bolt and Shot for 7 is just not going to be enough to get them back into this game. Our turn 0 was nothing to write home about. Being able to throw Art of the Dragonscale did put them in a position where they had to block with some cards. But after that, our opponent was able to come out of the gates storming. They were able to play Call in the Big Guns, load in the King Shark Harpoon, I think that's what it's called, and then they were able to use the cannon and then come in for 13 overpower. This really took a lot of the wind out of our sails early, as they were able to make a gold, take a card out of our hand, and really take away any breaking point value that we had. So we're just forced to throw 6, flick a dagger, and then arsenal the breaking point and try to set up for a more explosive turn moving forward. My opponent's second turn was also really interesting. Because I had a blue in my hand, I was able to say no blocks, and then that allowed me to show them the dragon power and keep my entire hand. Now, you heard me talking about using the fealty token to be able to play Art of the Dragonblood, making everything cost 1 less, which meant we didn't really need the blue in that situation that we were in. So I really wanted to block with it to try and conserve life, but with that being a red Fin Harpoon, that means that if I block with Dragon Power, I'm forced to show them a red and then have a much, much weaker hand. So I think overall it was worth taking 3 extra points to keep the blue, but it was a really interesting situation that my opponent put me in because I wasn't able to block unless I wanted to lose 2 cards there. Turn 3 was a really interesting decision by my opponent. I know that they were like able to come back with a pretty good amount of damage on the turn following this and like try to make things weird with the Codex of Frailty, but my opponent took 24 points of damage. They fell from 36 to 12, giving me a 12-point life lead and really making it to where all I had to do was try and keep a little tempo from here because I threw everything I had at them. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't set up a 5-card hand, why I didn't try to arsenal something. My opponent had committed to not blocking already. I was just there to throw as much damage as physically possible at them. I wanted that to be as weird as possible. I wanted them to take as much damage as we could push right there. And so the fact that they were not willing to block at all told me that we needed to be all gas and no breaks, making it weird for our opponent. Playing the Warmonger's Diplomacy before my opponent's 4th turn was really, really powerful because it forces them to activate their quiver. They hit a Yellowfin Harpoon, which literally hits 0 cards in our deck. So I knew that this was my turn that I was going to try and close the door. And on top of that, they gave me Mask. Now, it might have been at the end of the turn, but we were really just able to get aggressive and utilize everything we had access to, putting a lot of pressure on them and ultimately forcing a concession because they were only going to throw 7 at us with no on-hit effect, and we were at 13 with them being all the way down to like 1 or 2 life. The game was basically over from here. Guys, if you see anything you think I missed, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.